Hello, I'm Louise. Hi, and this is lesson 5 of the Healing Path to Abundance. This one's about your real work, your true work. And so what I'm going to do is take you through an exercise, or tell you about an exercise for you to find out what your true worth is. And so, even though we're all worthy beings, we're all here and we're all worthy beings, what we're actually giving out to the universe, the added value that we're giving to the universe, what we're sharing with the universe, is always different from person to person. And so throughout our lives, we have different values that we're giving to the universe, depending on what we're doing, depending on how aligned we are to our higher self and our purpose, depending on how much experience we've had, what we've released in ourselves, and all sorts of reasons. But we all have these different values. And it's good to find out what that value is. It's like, how much are we worth? How much are you worth? How much does your higher self know that you're worth and what you're doing right now? And all of this worth can kind of change from day to day, depending on how you're feeling about yourself. And generally, there'll be kind of a ballpark figure of what you're worth. Now, the importance of knowing this, of knowing how much your higher self values you at, is so that you can get aligned with that. And because it's no good in asking to receive back above what you're worth or below what you're worth, because then you're not going to attract the right people towards you for that. And so your higher self knows that you're at a certain level. It knows you're worthy at a certain level. Now, if you are valuing yourself as a human being, setting yourself at this point right down here instead of where you're actually giving value at, and so you're asking this price for your services or for this kind of salary for the job that you're in, or then you're pitching yourself way below the actual value that you're giving. And so say if you're going for a job interview, you're really worth that. Your higher self knows that you're really worth that, but you don't really understand. Your heart and your brain doesn't really understand that you're worth that, and so you think you're worth that. You're undervaluing yourself. That can be for all sorts of reasons, but generally you have self-worth issues. There's something that's making you feel bad about yourself that keeps you down there, and we'll talk about that in the next class. But why are you undervaluing yourself? Well, if you go for a job, if you're going for a job interview at a level like that, the people that are going to interview you, they're going to say, like, they're worth that, and can't employ them, because if we employ them at that level, it's not the right, we should be paying them more than that, and we haven't got a vacancy at that level, we've got a vacancy at that level, and so they're way overqualified. So you're going to be rejected. Same if you're charging your customers at that level, and your higher self knows that you're at that level, but you're charging them that, you're attracting the customers around that level that are looking for a kind of service that's around that level. And when they get something off you, when they have your service or whatever your product is at that level, and they receive it for that price, they think that they've got extremely good value, and it should have been priced up there first of all. And you think that that might be a good thing. You think, oh, it's great when people get bargains, and it feels really good. What will happen is they won't come back to you. They won't come back to you because when you receive extreme value like that and a bargain, inside it doesn't feel right. It makes you feel a little bit guilty. It makes you feel like you've received something for nothing. Your worthiness is down, your customer's worthiness is down at this level, and they don't want to receive something at that level. It doesn't make them feel comfortable at all. They're not going to come back to you. They're going to feel like they've got a great bargain, and that bargain should be for other people and not them. So they're not going to come back to you. If you're charging this amount, if you go for jobs that are this amount, that is where your customers are. That is where the customers that are wanting somebody to give them the service that you can give them. That's where the employers are looking for somebody of your level. That is where all of your customers are that want that level of product, that kind of product, and they want to pay that amount for it. So imagine for my readings and my sessions, my Skype sessions, I'm at that level an hour, okay, and I'm charging that. And so these kind of people are kind of attracted to me at first, but then don't want to come back to me because they think, oh, she's really great, you know, I should have been paying that. And so um, I'll just find someone that's around this level that I'm giving them good value back for. So they're not going to come back to me. If I'm charging at this level, suddenly I have access to all of the people at the right level, the people that are looking for a certain amount of service are not going to go for the bargains. They're not going to go for the bargains. They're going to look for something that's a certain price. Imagine, okay, you want to find yourself a coach because you're earning, say you're earning $1,000 a day, and you want to find yourself a coach because you're ready to increase that now. You're ready to increase what you're doing. You want to reach more people, and you're not going to look for a coach that's down at that level. You're not even going to look for a coach that's at your level. You're going to look for a coach that's up there at the next level. And you're going to look for somebody who's charging way more than you're charging, because they're going to give you what you need. They're going to have the advice. They're going to be able to tell you what it is that you need to know. And so for myself, I wouldn't bother getting a coaching session or a session from anyone that's charging less than me, because they wouldn't be able to offer me anything. And so you need to pitch yourself at that level, because that's where all of your opportunities are. That's where the jobs are. That's where the customers are that are looking for you. And so it's really important to know where that price is. Now, some people don't undervalue themselves, they overvalue themselves. And so there might be people that have an over ego kind of thing. And so their ego place them above where they are. And in that case, what happens is the customers find them at that level and they get the services and they think, this person isn't worth it, and they don't come back to them. Or if you're thinking you're at that level and your higher self knows you're at that level and you're going for a job at that level, the interviewers are looking for somebody down at that level, and they're going to think they're not going to give you the job because you're not at that level. You might try and convince yourself you're at that level, but you're not at that level yet. And so it's really important to know where that level is. And so how do you find out? How do you find out what level your higher self knows that you're at? How much are you really worth? Well, the answer is inside of you. And so what I want you to do is an exercise to find out. And so stand in front of a mirror, or you can do this exercise with someone else, and so you can get someone else to ask you these questions. Firstly, decide what kind of units you value yourself at, and so this might be salary, it might be a weekly wage, it might be an hourly rate, it might be what your products are worth, but something that you offer that you can a unit that you can value yourself at. It's probably better not to be like a whole salary, but some people might work on that level, and it would be easier for them to kind of to work on that level and find out. And so once you've decided on the unit of how you want to do this, for me it's an hourly. I wanted to find out how much I was worth an hour. Then do this exercise. And so if I'm stood in front of a mirror doing this exercise, what I'm going to say to myself is, are you worth $5 an hour? Okay? And as I ask myself that question, my response to that inside is amusement. It's like, there's no way I'm worth $5 an hour. I'm worth way more than that. If someone else is doing this exercise with you, then just get them to ask you that question. Are you worth $5 an hour? And what I want you to do is increase those amounts incrementally and see how you feel inside. There's some point that you'll stop being amused, and you'll kind of start considering it. There'll be some kind of point as it gets higher and higher. So from rock bottom now, and this is where your higher self knows, as you're being asked that question, you'll get to a point, and you'll be amused at this point, it will just seem ridiculous to you. And you'll get to a point where you kind of take some time to answer the question. And that consideration point is where your ego would undervalue yourself at. And so write that down. No doubt that is how much you're charging at the moment, or thereabouts. And so keep going. Keep on asking yourself. And this will be quite a slow process, because it's going to take you time to think in all of these questions as it implements. And there's going to be a certain point when you're going to get a feeling of ease within yourself. And so when you're considering whether you're worth that amount inside, you're really feeling it. And a part of you will think, I'm really worth more. And a part of you will think, am I sure that I'm worth that much? But there's a point in time with this exercise where you're just going to feel an ease come over you. And so really concentrate, really focus on what's going on inside of you as you do this, because at that point, at that ease point, that is where your higher self knows that you're worth. That's your higher self value of yourself at the moment. And so write that amount down. And so you've got two amounts now. You've got the where your ego will undervalue yourself. You've got where your higher self knows your value. And so now start the process again, but go way, way above what you think your value is. And again, you might be amused by that question about, are you worth $1 billion an hour or whatever? And it's like, there's no way that I'm worth that. And bring it down, bring it down, bring it down, until there will be a point again where you kind of take longer to answer about it because you're really considering it. And so at that point, that is the level that your ego would overvalue yourself. Now there's two, write that down again, and there's two kind of worthiness issue kind of things that are going to stop, levels of worthiness and issues involved with that are going to stop you from actually opening up to abundance. And one of them is that you've got kind of an overinflated ego, and so you value yourself more than you're actually worth. And this is actually not that rare, but it tends to be a more masculine kind of trait. Not that it's more in men than in women, but it tends to be a kind of masculine kind of trait. So the more masculine kind of women and more masculine kind of men. By far the majority are undervaluing themselves. And this is you if you find that what you're actually charging, or the job that you're actually in, and the services and the products that you're charging at are at that lower level. And so now you know what your true value is. The next step is to see whether you're actually charging that, and think to yourself, if I were to charge that amount right now, how would that feel to me? And if it doesn't feel right for you, if you think I couldn't put my charges up that much, or I couldn't bring my charges down that much, then you'll need to align with where your higher self is at. If you can change, if you think about changing your prices or changing a job so that you're earning the amount that your higher self knows you're worth, if that feels good to you, just doing it straight away, then do it straight away. But what I'm going to do in the next lesson is to teach you how to align with yourself, with that amount that your higher self knows that you're worth. So thank you for listening, and have fun with that exercise. And it's something that you can do again and again, because, as I said, your value is going to change. It's going to change depending on how you're feeling, depending on how much you're going with the flow, depending on how much service and level of energy you're giving out of your heart and your spirit. And so it's constantly going to change. And so it's really important to keep this going. You might want to play with it as well, because you've probably found, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're providing your services and you've kind of got a lot of control in what you're doing, a lot of freedom and a lot of but total control of what you're doing, is that your business will fluctuate. There's some days that will be quiet, and sometimes days that will be busy. And if you can use this exercise to find out what is going on with your higher self and your self-worth on those days. Because what you might find is that when, say if you had a personal relationship problem crop up and your energy is feeling a bit depleted, you're not really feeling on fire as much as usual and you know, really passionate and eager for the day and providing service and wanting to get on with that, your energy is a bit depleted. Do the exercise on that day and just find out. You'll see that your value has dropped on that day. And then when you're having a really good day, when you're really feeling on fire, do this exercise and you'll find that your high self-value is way higher than it was when you first did it. That's one way you can kind of see just how much value you're giving out to the world. And not only that, but how much value you should be accepting back from the world. Remember, the universe is always keeping things in balance. And if you aren't charging what you're really worth and are providing that service, that level of service, so you know that you're worth, your high self knows that you're worth this, you're thinking you're worth that, but you're still providing great service, and you're not diminishing that energy that you're putting out into the world, but it's kind of going to the wrong people at the moment. They're getting a lesson from it. You're getting a lesson from it because you will get lessons from doing that. You will have experiences that aren't going to make you feel good by doing that. Yet the universe will always balance it out, and so the value that you're putting in can never be lost. Like energy can never be lost, and you are creating energy all the time with your passion and with how you're feeling and what you're putting out into the world, and so that's never lost. It will come back to you in another way. It will come back to you in all sorts of amazing ways from the universe. So don't worry about that. Energy is never lost, but if you can align yourself with your higher self's knowing of the value of yourself, then, and that's where the opportunities are, that's where all your customers are, that's when things are really going to take off for you. And so I'd also suggest doing this exercise regularly, maybe once every quarter or once every 2 months or a month, depending on how fast your path is. And so, for instance, myself, I'm on a very fast kind of healing path and have been for many years. And so I am constantly working on myself and aware of myself, more than anyone that I know. And so I'll spend hours working on myself every day because it's what I love, it's what I find joy in, and it's what makes my work really powerful, is that I've been through the experiences and I know, and I'm working on myself constantly. And I can share that with my customers too. And so things move really fast for me. I can manifest really quickly. I can think of something, or I can see a problem, I can write it in my journal and say, I'm ready for a solution for this. And within 24 hours, I've got the solution and it's all sorted and I'm moved on and I'm at the next step. And so this same kind of pace can happen for you, but when it does, you'll need to do this process more and more because you're going to have opportunities and changes in directions really quickly when you get to this level. And so then you would do the process more often. If you're on a kind of slower path, which is fine, many people are, then you may want to do it just like once a year. So maybe you're kind of thinking of a salary that you'd want, and then maybe you just want to keep on doing the exercise once a year. So pop it in your diary, put it on your iPhone in your diary to give you a reminder to do this again, however often you want to do it. And have fun with it. You should really enjoy finding out how much your higher self values you at. And so next lesson I'm going to talk about how to actually align with that if you're not aligned with it. Thank you for listening, and bye.